Hey, Tyler. Nah, forget it.
Hey, Neil.
Guys, it's me. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
oh,
sorry.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see you there.
You're so loud.
How did you get it? Wow.
I've been here. I've been with you for your whole life,
Hey,
Neil.
I know you guys.
How's the doctor delivered you?
You guys are listening to this, but I just want you to know Tyler looks really good today.
Thanks,
a
man.
lot of our episodes, we just kind of phone it in as far as the way we look. But today,
I really went all out.
So fresh.
And by that, I mean, I didn't shower this morning.
So fresh.
Wearing Abercrombie leisure wear pants.
But you're wearing a Tarver construction shirt. That's incredible.
Yeah, my oldest two kids are wearing them at school right now.
Good for them.
Yep.
Good for you.
And I have a Lululemon jacket. I'm going with that.
Okay, good.
Or my backwards Memphis Grizzlies hat. And I'm going with the Yeezy low top. I went with some low tops.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you just like, I feel like with athletic pants, if you go high tops, it's just too much, you know?
This is great.
How about you? What are you wearing?
Hey, what are we talking about today?
Oh gosh, that too. We're talking about inside the NBA.
Yeah. And we got a special guest on today with us.
He's such a special guest.
I like this guy.
I do too.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Tyler and Neil Explain Everything podcast. Now officially your fourth favorite podcast. Hit the subscribe button and make sure you go to patreon.com/explain everything to get exclusive episodes. Looks like we made it.
That slaps.
That does slap. Caught me off guard. Sorry.
So we have a special guest on with us today. His name is Steve Murphy. Steve is a good friend. Okay, wow. This will actually go way back. He was at Dirt Conference with you.
But he spoke at it.
He taught one of the labs.
Yeah. I sat in the audience the whole time. I didn't do anything of importance. From what I understand, the guy who ran the conference felt like I had such little experience with video that whenever he did his documentary and invited every single person that he worked with, including me, who literally, came to work with him because, we'd developed a friendship.
And then didn't talk to you for a year.
And didn't talk to me for a full year while we worked together. I was like, oh, he's mad at me. It's fine.
So Steve Murphy is going to talk to us. He has the Nook podcast. So his full name is Steve Murphy. I do want you guys to know.
His full name? What is his middle name?
His full name is Steve Murphy.
His middle name is N. So it's
Stephen Murphy. But we also wondered if Tyler and maybe Mr. Murphy did a podcast together, it would be called the Steve and Tyler Explain Everything podcast.
That's so good, man.
Yeah, it would have been really good.
One of the guys I went to school with and we played basketball together, his name was Steven. And so my coach would call Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler?
He liked Aerosmith. My coach did.
Oh.
So, yeah. The more you know.
Dude looks like a lady.
First off. It's good.
I did guitar parts on that one episode we did for Facebook, and I did the. My problem is,
it's so good.
Hey, why don't we call Steve right now? Because Steve has worked in the
NBA, and he's going to talk to us about
getting your MBA.
MBA.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, macro.
He's a
basketball association. It's like a really small basketball association with
macro basketball.
Hello.
Steve Murphy.
What's up, bro?
Hello.
Oh
What's
my
happening?
gosh!
There you are,
Is this actually happening?
Steve.
Yes.
Steve.
Man,
So happy to have you, man.
bring it.
I'm more happy to have you than Neil is probably when you think about it.
He's going to say that, Steve.
I anticipated as much just for that final human-to-human connection.
Steve, you have a very silky voice.
Gosh, so good, man. You should have a podcast.
Well, I will only take partial credit for that. I will also say that I'm on a dandy little microphone that makes podcasting possible.
Hey, what did I say? So right before you got on here, I said, Steve is a quality guy. He's gonna have quality on whatever he does.
Well, we use our microphones. We use the microphones from So You Think You Can Sing. It's a Wii game. That's our microphones we use.
Okay. Yeah, but you make it work.
Yeah.
I listen.
Thanks,
Whatever
man.
it takes.
That means a lot.
So Steve, we were just mentioning that you were at the Dirt Conference in 2009, but that is not like the.
I was there too.
Tyler was there as well.
I didn't have a speaking part. Neil didn't think I knew anything, so he made me sit in the stands.
It's not true.
He said, "Know your place."
I did not.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yes.
Good God, that was a fun time.
It was incredible. I really wish we had done it again.
It was fun.
it was fine. It was whatever.
And again.
You have a podcast called The Nook, and I love it.
I do have a podcast. And you're like the Alec Baldwin of the Nook podcast. I just keep bringing you back.
Yeah, pretty soon I'll be in the Five Timers Club.
That's solid.
Yep. You get the special jacket.
Oh,
special content.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
I like it. I have a little notebook from you with there's the Nook logo.
No. Well, I guess
that was just the tip of the iceberg.
I guess with the Nook podcast, I'm like current Will Smith because I'll never get invited.
No. It's only like a 10-year break. And
that's it.
I can come back. We just got to forget. I got to have a couple hit movies before that. Bring me back.
Right.
You've had so many people on your podcast. You have authors. You've had some stand-up comedians. You've had psychiatrists, news anchors. You have people from ESPN. You've done some adoption stories. You had Convoy of Hope. You've got one of the most widest range of guests on your show. It's impressive, man.
Yeah, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because everybody tells you you're supposed to niche down and throw a dart at the wall and go, I'll talk to them.
No. You can't contain his airness. You can only hope to contain it. You can't stop it. Dang it, I ruined it. It's an NBA Street from PS2 quote. It's talking about Michael Jordan. The commentator would go, you can't stop his airness. You can only hope to contain him.
Only hope to contain him.
Yeah, that's you, bro.
That's it.
Speaking of airness, see the transition I just made?
Yeah.
We're talking about basketball, Neil. Did you forget the episode?
Go with it.
So Tyler is a massive sports card fanatic.
I do like sports cards.
And he loves the NBA.
Is what I thought you were going to say.
And they got bought by Fanatics, so it's actually a paid sponsorship. Thanks to our sponsor, Fanatics. I've actually emailed them. I'm like, hey, you need help on TikTok? Holler at me.
Come on.
Yeah. They didn't reply.
If they replied?
No. Josh Luber is like, no thanks.
So, Steve, one of the first things that I remember about you is that way back, I think you were doing church work, but at the same time, I vaguely remember you would also work NBA games. And we talked about that years ago, and we briefly mentioned it a little while back. That's like a whole nother world, the whole production side of what it takes to actually pull off an NBA game.
Yes, it is. And it's changed even so much since I got out of it. And part of that is COVID based, and part of that is just the networks trying to streamline and save a dime wherever they can. But yeah, it is a very bizarre circus-like world.
What would you say are some of the biggest changes you've seen? You said it's changed a lot since you were in it, since you got out of it. What are some big changes you've seen?
The biggest one of most recent time, and this was pretty much a COVID force in just trying to minimize the amount of people in any arena, is that they have gone to what is called a world feed mode. When I was in it back in the late 90s, I was a freelancer for about 12 years. And back in the day, we used to have 2 trucks in the arena, one for the visiting show and one for the home show. And you'd have a full crew. So essentially you had the exact same thing happening times 2, but one of them was going to Denver and the other one was just feeding all the people right there in Phoenix. So in every position, you'd have 2 guys there. Now that world feed mode, it means that you've just got 1 guy at each position, and each market makes it their own. Like during most of COVID, the announcers for your team rarely left their own building. You'd have your play-by-play guy and color commentator sitting side by side with plexiglass in between them, just basically watching TV with you and calling the game that way.
Real.
So that was a huge change. And for my buddies who still work the TV world, it was quite a hit in the amount of available work. Because if you weren't, a typical show might have 6 cameras. If you weren't one of those 6 guys, then you probably weren't working that night.
Dang.
So that's a big one.
That's like, I saw a bunch of robotic cameras during the NCAA Final Four and all that kind of stuff. Like those cameras that kind of traveled alongside, because they're in these much bigger arenas. Is it because they can get all this extra gear there or whatever? Because they still had regular guys like manned camera operators, but then they had all these robotic cameras. They had these sky cams, all this extra stuff. That's just for like special events, right?
Yes, it's basically the deeper you get into anything heading towards a championship, the more bells and whistles they'll throw at it because the budgets are bigger. Whereas you pick a regular season game in the middle of March, January, whatever, that's just going home, and you got your regular guys, and it's pretty much routine. But you get the playoffs involved. Now the league is a whole lot more involved. You've got national broadcasts opposed to local broadcasts, and they will typically amp things up by any amount of factor. And by the time you get to a championship game, it's not at all unlike the Super Bowl in that they'll have a camera in every corner they can get it.
Okay.
Because they want that angle no matter what happens on the court, because by the time you get to the NBA Finals or the NCAA Finals or Final Four, that's the only game.
Yeah.
So they throw the money at it. Everything, and that means more stuff.
Question. What are your thoughts on, like, you know how they did those cameras back in the bubble, how they had like that running camera that would go, you know what I'm talking about, like a dog track camera and all that. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think there's actually a cool element to it, more so than some of the other ones. I hated it when they started doing the camera that would just kind of hang overhead, especially like for standard game coverage that's supposed to give it more of a video game feel. It's like, if somebody offered you whatever seat you wanted in a building, where would you want that seat? Front row center.
Courtside.
I want to be on the court. I want LeBron to pass to me and they get frustrated with me because I just completely brick it. I'm his Russell Westbrook.
Yes. Yep. And that's not the camera hanging up in the middle of the sky is where nobody's sitting. So that angle means nothing to you. Whereas when they cut to a camera that's up and off to the side or to a handheld camera right underneath the basket, it's like, I have a category for that because typically there's a seat somewhere nearby, but you float one up in the middle and it just feels like, am I having an out-of-body experience up here?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
And it just got more of a bubble lens so that you can see all kinds of stuff. And so that took me out as a fan. I love, but then there's the aspect too, that there's typically 2 and sometimes even 3 guys running that one camera. So I love that those guys are working, but as a fan, I'm not one.
So what you've done a bunch of, did you specifically work for an NBA team, or you said you were contract? How does that work? Because I know there are camera operators everywhere, but they're not like working for the Phoenix Suns. They're working for somebody else.
Correct. Yes. You are working for a third party. When the orders come in I was based in Phoenix, when the Denver Nuggets are preparing their season, they're looking at every building that they're going to go to, and they've got a standard traveling show. And that means that maybe at home they might have 6 cameras, but in a visiting arena, maybe they only go with 5 because that saves them. They don't have to rent a 5th camera. They don't have to pay a 5th camera operator.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I was just connected with the guys that did the crewing. So they would get the order from all the visiting teams. Most of the time I was working for the visiting teams, which in truth, I prefer because I got to meet so many amazing people from all over the league.
That's cool.
But you don't, that was always fun to try to explain. You know how you try to explain stuff to your mom and it never conveys. It's like, Mom, I don't work for the Phoenix Suns. I work for another. You know what? I work for the Phoenix Suns.
Yep, there it is. Yeah,
I go to the arena most nights and I shoot basketball. That's all. I know that's all that matters to you. So that's what.
Who are some of the coolest people you got to meet visiting teams?
Oh gosh, there were so many. And what's sad is how it's easy. It would probably be easier for me to list the people that I met with that were just complete jerks.
We allow that too. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, go.
Thank you.
Wait a second. Let me back up because no joke, Charles Barkley was one of the coolest people of all time.
Really?
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
when he played in Phoenix, he would chat us up. He would just walk over and sit with us and just have a session, just hanging out. And then later when he got traded to the Rockets, I remember the first time he came back to Phoenix, I just happened to walk by him in the hallway. He had just gotten off the bus and I just said, "Welcome back, Charles." He hugs me and says, "Thank you, my brother."
Wow.
There was cool guys like that, everybody's got an opinion about Charles Barkley, but I can tell you he was one of the most sincere, down to earth, love to just sit and talk about just about anything kind of guys.
Incredible golfer.
And yet there were other dudes that Oh yeah, super golf, and it was just awesome that when he came to Phoenix, he plugged into Phoenix, and he was a huge fan favorite there. But then some of the other guys, I mean, Karl Malone, total jerk. With the times when you get sent back by the locker rooms right after a game to get post game interviews and stuff like that, and you can tell that this guy he doesn't care. He doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
He knows that they want to hear from him, but aloof is maybe a better word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carmelo's the one. I'm pretty sure.
Not to mention that. Go ahead.
Nope. I'm done.
Most of the time I was a handheld guy under the basket. And for 9-year-old me, I couldn't believe that I was there most nights because I had been a fan. No joke. My dad took me to my first game in April of 1976 when the Suns went to the finals against the Celtics.
Wow.
So to fast forward a few years and now be shooting this team that I grew up bleeding purple and orange, it was so cool. In the first maybe half of the season that I was doing that, I was always just scared to death I was going to screw something up. And the game would be over and I wouldn't even know who won. I'm just like, keep the guy in the frame and keep it focused and follow the action and don't mess up. And, we're done. Okay. But then after I had been doing it for a while, do you guys remember Robin Ficker?
I've heard
the guy in Washington he sat right behind the visiting bench in Washington for years. And he was relentless at going after the opposing team.
I like that.
All the utilities, the guys that handle your cable for you, they would basically be throwing dice to work with me because I'd be sitting there chiding at the players all night.
Gosh.
And that was a bit insane, truthfully, because I remember going to my buddy who was an executive producer for the Suns and saying, Bob, I've got a problem with this. And he looked at me wide-eyed and said, you got to stop. If the PR lady for the Suns found out, or if one of the players complained that I'm down there being obnoxious, they can have me banned from the building. And then, here I am with a family to support. But
so you're the guy like
Carlos
down underneath the basket. You're on the floor, right? For camera work. So you're handheld. Yep. That's like one of the most dangerous spots to be, isn't it? I mean, you're you get hit.
You ever gotten leveled?
I got nailed. I'll send you a video. I'll email it to you of a video. You're looking at it from my camera angle. And I forget he's a short-lived guard, played for the Bucks, I think.
Dellavedova?
No, it's like 2004. But Steve Nash steals the ball at the opposite end and comes flying back towards my way. And whoever the guard was that he stole it from is trying to catch up. And he looks up at Nash instead of forward at where he's going.
No.
And he rolled me. And in the shot, you can see my shoes flying through the air because I got sent so.
That's amazing.
We call it turtle backing because you're sitting there in a little boat seat to just have a little, support for your back.
Yeah.
And oh man, my hat and glasses go flying.
Gone. I saw
you're
during
just toast, but you just want to get back to work.
Yeah, because you got to get back up on your feet because they need your shot. Yeah. So it's you got to. So you see that in football too. Those guys on the sidelines that get absolutely plastered because you have tunnel vision. You're only focused on this one thing, and your perspective on how close is this to me. I'm trying to zoom out and focus, and oh my gosh, we're laid out. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yep. Pick a sport. Except for hockey, but pick a sport, and I've gotten plunked.
Oh, yeah.
Which one hurt the most out of all the sports?
Arena football.
I bet.
You're standing in the end zone for arena football. Some of the greatest. It was pure excitement because you've got the quarterback. He calls hut. You get him. He throws the ball. You got the ball in the air. You're tracking everything. The guy catches it, and then him and the guy guarding him take you out right into. And that's usually in a hockey arena, so they plow you right into the hockey board.
Oh,
and you get up and you can't wait to see your replay, even though everything hurts.
Those guys barely make minimum wage. Like they're barely paid to do it, and they are laying there.
Put some respect on Johnny Manziel's name.
Yeah, that is a brutal sport. I only went and saw it one time in person. I was like, oh wow, this is nuts.
Yeah, they used to have an arena football league in Little Rock. I went and saw them play in middle school.
That's crazy.
Elementary or junior high.
Yeah, it's fun.
I had a chance.
No, I still don't think it's real football, but it's fun.
I had a chance to go. It was a Pittsburgh Steelers game, and a guy asked me to do a game with him, and I got on that crew for it. And the amount of pressure, it's just contract work. It's just one game. You know what I mean? Like you're like, and I never got called back, so that
you're
tells
a warm
you.
Body.
Yeah, and you're just trying to you're listening to, and it's difficult because you're laying out all of your cables, you're setting up all of your gear, you're doing all that work, and then you shoot it and you're done. And it's like you walk, and you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a shot at doing this again.
Oh, yeah. That's the rough life of that contract work, is that you're guaranteed nothing.
Yeah.
Any show could be your last.
Is any of that unionized?
If you have some egregious goof, you're done.
Man. And so if you don't make the people that are directing or producing or running that crew happy, you're done.
Yep.
Man.
If you do something terrible, or for that matter, if you turn them down too many times, they just move on to the next guy.
Oh, so you're like, I can't do it.
You're kind of like cattle.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. When I first started freelancing, my wife asked me one time, do you ever say no? And I'm like, no, you can't.
Because if you say no, you're done.
If there's 12 camera positions for a night at the arena, you hope to get one of the 12. And if you say no, they just move on to the next guy. And if that guy comes in and just shoots lights out and doesn't miss a play, then the director says, hey, next time get me that guy.
Yeah.
Because the director's list will always trump whatever, pecking order is.
That's crazy. All right, you hear there's ticking. Yep. This is format now. Yeah,
lightning round.
It's intense when that hits. Also, Tyler looks at me with eyes of
disdain,
cold-hearted steel, and he's like, "Why did you do this to us?
I want these to be an hour and a half each. Let's record."
There it is, Steve.
Oh, is that it?
That went fast.
Can you hear it? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Wow, I can hear it.
Oh,
man.
This is actually me right now live on the keyboard.
Looks like we made it.
It does look like we made it. Thank you, sir.
That's good.
That's solid.
That's incredible.
Hello.
Steve, how long do your podcasts normally? Do you have a limit to them, or do you try and keep it to a limit?
I don't, actually. And where I started is probably about a half hour. They're running 45, 50 now.
Oh, man. Tyler, did you hear that? We're going the wrong direction. We're going shorter. Well, I made a terrible mistake.
Hey, I'll follow you off the script, sir. Thelma and Louise, this thing. Steven can be our Brad Pitt.
Steven, if you, in case you don't know, we're big fans of Brad Pitt, especially Troy Brad Pitt.
I just saw the previews last night for Bullet Train. If you haven't seen that, it's let's get a mandate and we're going to go. Because that movie looks amazing.
We just did our summer 2022 movie episode.
Yeah. And, Rock's playing the voice of the train, like Thomas the Train, but it's the Rock's voice.
we did say that if the Rock had to play in one of them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Would you ever go back to NBA camera work, any of that life, or are you just like, nah, I'm done?
No, I'm done. It is such a circus world. I miss the guys that I work with. Back in the day, there were some amazing relationships back then, and even coaches and players and directors from other teams and stuff. I think I told you I worked at the Olympics in 2004 in Athens.
Oh, cool.
The whole reason I got that gig is because I had made good friends with the director from the Utah Jazz.
Wow.
Stuff like that you can't put a price on something like that. But just because Utah came to Phoenix 3-4 times every year, that I got to know the guy. And it was just, that was a relationship that turned out to be amazing.
How cool is
that? The circus life, I mean, I noticed right away how the divorce rate was just unreal in that world, because you're gone evenings, weekends, and holidays, and people are at home watching.
Oh God, they're watching what you're shooting. You're like, we looks like we made it.
Looking through my eyes.
Lost track how many, man, the Coyotes in Phoenix, they would do a game every Thanksgiving Day, and Chucklehead me would take it, and then I'd be calling my wife at 4:00. What was I thinking? And I can hear the family having such a good time in the background. It's like, I'll see you 11 o'clock tonight.
That's crazy.
So no, I wouldn't go back to the craziness.
Man, it's such it takes so much skill work to do that, but it's like, a buddy of mine. He was actually the road manager for a pretty big band for 21 Pilots, and they went on these worldwide tours, and it sounds incredible. It sounds like, oh my gosh, what? And he said, you don't see anything outside of a tour bus, the inside of an arena, or the backside of a stage for months. And he's like, it's not worth it. The stress, the pressure, the whatever. He said, we traveled all over Europe. And he said, I didn't get to see any of it. But you tell people, I was in Prague, I was in Vienna, I was, I was in Munich or whatever, and I didn't see any of it. That actually is a little bit worse. But you think about it, like, you're near these NBA stars. You kind of get to be around them, but it's not like you're
they don't invite you on the court usually.
You want to play a game.
We don't hang out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And for that matter, it says on the credential that they issue you when you walk in the building, the biggest letters on the back of that thing says no autograph. Because we're given such, you're close to these guys, you're elbow to elbow. You cannot be leveraging that to say, oh, you wouldn't believe the amount of basketballs I sold with Charles Barkley's signature on them. They catch you just even hinting at an autograph. You're done. You're out.
Do you ask Charles for his jersey?
Like
hey, Charles. Hey, Chuck,
give me
that jersey. No chance.
And maybe that's the cool thing too, is that you're around those guys so much, and the guys that you do like hanging out with, and that's in just about every league too. That the guys you like being around, guys you don't like being around, and that's okay. That when Shane Doan, who played for the Coyotes for like 20 years, that he knows you, and that's cool. Or Luis Gonzalez, that hit the winning run when the Diamondbacks won the World Championship in 2001.
You're right there.
That he knew me, and that was better than any autograph.
That's cool. That is pretty cool. That's not bad at all. All right, let's do
that any day.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Let's 3v3 this. What do you say?
I'll allow it.
Welcome to the party, pal. This is 3v3.
That's called a number one hit, is what that's called right there. It's actually called, what that's called is Epidemic Sound tagging us and red flagging us for copyright infringement every single time. Okay, whatever.
Absolutely.
Because royalties, we don't make any money off that. All right, so Steve, here's the thought. 3v3, you know how this works. So the listener, we go through and we each pick three different people, three different items, three different whatever. And we compete to see who would win on in a battle, an epic battle to the death. So you've been working a lot of different sports, but let's each pick a sport. We each get three different sports that we want to pick that you would actually be excited to go capture on film. Like, you would want to be a part of the crew that captures this. And this could be any sport of any kind that you want. Tyler typically goes first, but you're our guest. Yeah. Is there a sport that you have done this for that you're like, okay, this is my number one. This is the sport I want to do?
This may surprise you. The first thing I would pick is high school football. And that's because the very first thing I ever shot was high school football. And for 3 years, I did that as a volunteer. And that's where I got bit by the bug. Wow. That ultimately led to a sports camera guy career for a time. And it's just fun. It's pure. Those guys are just out there, talking into each other. And it was just fun.
Yeah.
I would do, if somebody called me today and said, could you shoot high school football? I would say, absolutely. I'd do that for a game.
Tyler, you gonna call him? Tyler's calling you right now. Yeah, he's asking you to do high school football.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Hold on a second. I'm getting a phone call.
It's me.
Tyler, you're up. What do you say?
NBA basketball.
That's it. You don't care. That's the one you want to do.
I want the finals for sure.
Oh, that's very specific.
Yeah,
that's very specific.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say Olympic curling is my first.
I knew it in my heart.
Did you know it?
Oh gosh,
you did.
As soon as you said the 3v3, I was like, he's going to pick curling.
Steve,
he loves it.
I am obsessed with curling. I would absolutely do that. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be amazing. All right. You're up. Number two.
Number two, I'm going to have to go back to arena football.
Ooh.
Because It's the excitement. I mean, literally any pass can be a touchdown. You have got to be so on your toes. And that's literally from the time you go out there and they're doing the introductions, because in Phoenix, they had concussion bombs that went off in conjunction with fireworks and stuff like that. And you need to know the cadence of how things went so that you could hide behind the hockey wall before those bombs went off, because if it didn't, it would just rattle your brain. But it's just, it was a blast.
That's exciting. Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy. Tyler, number 2.
Okay. Okay. March Madness. I'm saying basketball. You saying football? I'm saying basketball.
Oh my gosh. He looked right at me when he said it with a twinkle in his eye.
Twinkle in his eye. St. Peter's.
March Madness is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
10 gems. That's not intense.
It's not intense.
Sorry, that's the British Bake Off. It's intense.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say bullfighting.
Okay.
I just think that's terrifying, and your life is on the line.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I want to travel. They don't do a lot of bullfighting here, so I want to go to Spain. So
yeah,
that would be
see a little more South America.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to travel is really what it is all about. All right, Steve, number 3, bring us home.
All right, then I'm going to go crazy obscure on you here, because we might have to go to the judges on whether or not this is a sport. But air racing.
What is it?
Air show racing.
Oh my
air
gosh,
racing.
yes.
That you want to talk about a challenge to your skills as a camera guy. You're flying. The scenario is even bizarre, how they have to fly and what the quote unquote course is.
Yeah. You're talking like the Red Bull, the racing that they do with the planes, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that is pretty amazing. Actually, I don't think you should be the camera.
Bullfighting.
You should do the sound effects for it. That was really good.
Like your bullfighting, I shot air racing for a number of years, and I always just would have the thought in the back of my head is, what happens if I'm shooting while one plane just mistakenly clips another, and 2 guys are now, hurling perilously toward their death?
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Well, keep it in focus. Keep it in focus, Steve.
Thanks for backing me up.
This is a big deal.
Drone shots.
All right, Tyler, number 3.
Number 3. Do you remember in Thor Ragnarok whenever Jeff Goldblum had the little gladiator thing and it was Thor versus the Hulk? Yeah. I want to film that competition. I want that one.
We're friends from work.
Tyler Tarver on the micro mini camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Hunger Games.
Yikes.
I'm gonna go with Hunger Games because it's definitely a sport. And man, talk about that's perilous.
Yeah, Neil.
He's making fun of me right now, Steve. He's making fun of me. Okay.
Well, if you could see me, I might be looking at you a little side-eyed
okay.
myself.
Well, nobody cares about Dad anymore. All right.
Don't you understand?
The last segment here. Here we go.
The question on everyone's mind, will it rock? The answer is probably yes.
No, it's no. Would The Rock, would Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
a lot.
Could he actually, do you think he could actually film an NBA game? Do you think he could get behind the camera and do any of this stuff?
Yes. If he had Google Glass, he wears the glasses, looks where he looks. I would watch that cam. If he's courtside, we're live streaming off his Google Glasses.
Yeah.
And I would watch that all day because dude ain't watching the game. He can be, politicianing everybody. Dapping up Jack Black. I'm down. Him and Kevin Hart, drunk Kevin Hart is the best Kevin Hart.
So you're really getting to see it from his perspective.
Yeah, you're watching it with your Oculus on, and it's like Mark's just standing there saying, "Thanks for using our Oculus glasses. This is the Rock version."
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'm down.
More than anything, it would be a sponsorship opportunity.
Oh yeah, and he'd go work out at halftime, and you just watch him working out, lifting.
I don't want to watch him work out. I want to watch him do cheat day.
Oh, he does that after halftime. That's during third quarter.
Pancakes.
I saw him do a cheat day one time, and it was like white rice with Tabasco sauce. And I'm like, bro,
gross, bro. You're better than that, Dwayne.
Let's get a pizza.
Come on, Dwayne. Yeah, that's crazy. So, all right, last question before we go here. Talking about NBA, I actually did a little bit of research on this a while back. There is a lot of talk about instead of just selling tickets to the game, that you're actually selling 360 seating. So they're putting 360 cameras up in seats all around, on the floor, on the whatever. So you buy a pass to the game and you can go look from any angle, from anywhere. It's basically like sitting right there on the floor. Do you think that will take off? Do you think people will do that?
I think there would be a number of people that signed up initially, and 10 games in, they'd all regret whatever the price they paid.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's a cool idea. And then I just think it becomes quickly boring. I will always default to old school that even if you were watching high school basketball, you'd still want to see it sit about 3-4 rows up in the bleachers and right mid-court, so you got a good view of either side, and you can still yell at the refs. No.
Yeah, I know that for concerts, that's taking off, where you're getting the concert audio, but then you're getting video from different places like that, where you're right on stage with them or you're right off stage or whatever. But I think for an NBA game or for a pro sports thing, you want some of the production value that goes along with that, and you want the perspective of being able to see. I think it's kind of a really cool novelty. I don't know if people are going to do it for the whole season. Yeah,
no.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Tyler says no.
Well, Jonah Hill promoted it on commercials, so Jonah Hill's never led me wrong.
Oh, no.
You know, he took less money to be in Wolf of Wall Street.
He did.
It's one of those movie facts that everybody tells you.
Everybody, you're like, oh, okay.
What a feather in the cap.
There it is.
It really is.
No, but honestly, you watch a good TV show. I mean, you watch a good TV coverage of a basketball game. There is still story happening.
You're right.
You could never get that with some weird bubble-eyed experience where you can look around the arena. In game, you're finding out about what happened to that guy when he, took a spill underneath and he's now in the locker room and we're getting the report. Is he going to be okay?
Yeah.
There's so much story on story that happens in game and before game that you want to, I don't know, as a fan, that's what you're after, not some goofy experience that VR. I don't know. I could just never see it happening.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I trust you. You've been in the middle of it. You know better.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in it because I was invited to play with LeBron, but it's not a big deal. I don't like to brag about
just
it.
a kid.
Well, during our podcast, I invited myself, so it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Steve, thanks for hanging out with us, bro. Really appreciate you.
Steve.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You're very nice.
It's like a dream come
privilege
true.
Having you on
It's
here.
ours. It's our dream, and you've made it come true. So thank you for that.
Come true.
No. Let's extend this for 5 more minutes while we say, no, you.
No, you. You hang up. No, you hang up.
No. Oh my gosh.
Hey guys, if you're listening to this, you should go check out the Nook podcast. It is on every podcast platform available to mankind and to ears. And it's incredible. And that's with Steve Murphy.
So hot right now.
Thanks for doing this with us, Steve. We appreciate you. This is Inside the NBA, more than you ever knew you wanted to know, with Steve Murphy.
The more you know. That's not how they say that.
No, that's not how they say that. That's how Liam Neeson says it.
I have a very particular set of skills, and that's informing you of things that you need to know. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Steve, for joining us, and thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Explain Everything podcast. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Explain Everything Podcast. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but you're already here. We love you. No, actually, we're in love with you. Thanks for coming on our TED Talk. Bye.